What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. This kind of just dropped out of nowhere. Sony decided to randomly put out the news that the DualShock 4 is no longer. With the PlayStation 5 coming, it is now going to be called the DualSense, and they released the first images of it officially and put out an entire blog post discussing it. And honestly, when I first took a look at it, I'm like, it looks like the DualShock 4. Like, the sense pad, the touchpad in the middle is a little bit wider at the top, but other than that, besides the color scheme, looking like a stormtrooper, it's basically the same controller. But that's where the similarities end, because the PlayStation 5 DualSense looks to add a ton of new features to actually make it worthwhile for the upgrade. JT. Right off the bat, I felt like this controller was unnecessary upon initial glance. I'm like, they're just trying to upsell people on basically what amounts to the same exact controller for the next generation of consoles, and I'm not down with that. Unless they let people attach the PlayStation DualShock 4 controllers to the PlayStation 5. But upon further inspection, it looks like this is going to be something that actually changes the game up and is worthwhile for the upgrade. First off, the share button is no longer there. They've changed it to a create button. Not a big change, not a big shift in what the controller offered, but something of note. What Sony said in their press release basically amounted to, we know you guys love the DualShock 4, so we wanted to keep it as close to that as possible. And I, for one, can't thank them enough. It's probably my favorite controller outside of the GameCube controller. And I don't mean to split the crowd when I say that, but this is a badass controller. It has everything exactly where I want it. Feels comfortable, great weight to it, all the buttons that you need everywhere. I love it. I love everything about it. So I was concerned when they were changing the controller. Thankfully, they're sticking close to what this one was. Changes that they're going to be making to it are pretty intense, though. We've incorporated adaptive triggers into the L2 and R2 buttons of the DualSense, so you can truly feel the tension of your actions, like when drawing a bow to shoot an arrow. This is wild, because initially my first dive into what controllers offered something different than a D-pad was with the analog sticks and how you could push it just a little bit, move a little bit, and then push it all the way and you'd actually be running. Or with games like Gran Turismo back in the day, with being able to push the pedal down, you didn't even need the whole setup. You could just use the analog sticks and push the tension on them exactly how you wanted. But now they're making it adaptive to the buttons and adding what it sounds like to be pressure sensitivity to give force feedback to make it harder to push them if they program it to be that way from the developer's standpoint. Pretty intense stuff. That's something that I'm actually pretty excited about and looking forward to. And it's something that I never even thought could even exist. I never even thought of that as an idea. And once I heard it, I'm like, hell yeah, that's pretty cool. Because they added this change, they needed to update the angle of the hand triggers so that the internals still all fit the way that they do into the design of the entire shell of the controller. The DualSense also adds a built-in microphone array, which will enable players to easily chat with friends without a headset. Yes, that is awesome, because the last time I can recall actually putting a headset on when playing a multiplayer game was back with like the Xbox 360. I just don't have the time for the wires, the plugs, the additional hardware and stuff. If you could just chat into the microphone of the controller and actually hear people with the feedback on it, if it's loud enough and it's understandable enough, that is amazing. And then they go on to talk about the colors. Traditionally, our base colors have had a single color. As you can see, we went a different direction this time around and have decided to go with two-tone design. Additionally, we changed the position of the light bar that will give it an extra pop. On DualShock 4, it sat at the top of the controller. Now it sits at each side of the touchpad, giving a slightly larger look and feel. That's pretty cool as long as it's not too bright, because sometimes in a really dark room, it gets obnoxious seeing the reflection of the light on the DualShock 4 against the TV. Yes, I know it's adjustable and you can change it in the settings, but my point is it was just it felt like an added frustration. This looks to be a lot more slimmed down so that it's a lot more bearable for the end user to be able to not feel blown away by the brightness of it or anything like that. One thing that I have a major question, possibly a concern about, is the battery life. Because let's be real, the battery life in the PlayStation 4 DualShock 4 controllers was pretty pathetic. Like, I felt like every play session I'd have to re-plug in my controller so that it wouldn't die on me the next time I went to play it. That's actually why I bought a second controller, because I don't typically play multiplayer games on my PS4, so I'd have one charging, and then I'd just alternate whenever I wanted to use one the next day. I'd plug in the other one and unplug the one that was charging and use that one. All these additions into the DualSense, it sounds like it's going to harness way more battery power out of itself in order to accomplish its goals, and that means less battery life typically, unless technology has progressed to a point where the lithium ion or whatever they end up using in this thing can actually handle the capacity that's required by it. And in the article, the blog from PlayStation, it doesn't really talk too much about the battery. The only thing it really says is, we also took thoughtful consideration into ways to maintain a strong battery life for DualSense's rechargeable battery and to lessen the weight of the controller as much as possible as new features were added. Great! What does that actually mean for the battery life, though? It just says you considered it, you were thoughtful about it, but you didn't say what the battery life is, how long it lasts, or how you actually consider it, what you changed about it. So that's my one major, huge concern out of this thing, is the battery life. And if that's something, it's fine if it lasts at least as long as the DualShock 4, I can deal with that. But anything less than that is going to be severely detrimental to the success of the PlayStation 5 as a product, because the controller is what drives the system. And if the battery life keeps failing on it, and if it keeps dying like an hour and a half, 2.5 hours after playing with a fully charged controller, that's gonna piss a lot of customers off. So, all things considered, it looks awesome. I actually appreciate it after doing some further research on this and finding out what it presents to the end user. It's something that definitely changes the game and adds an entirely new dimension to gameplay that never existed before and makes the games special on the console that is the PlayStation 5. Assuming the battery life is good, assuming the other designs that they come out with are cool, which I'm sure they will be. I don't love the white design, but whatever, it's not awful either, and honestly, I don't look at my controller when I'm playing the game anyway, so controller designs have never been like a big thing with me anyways. I think it's cool, it's good enough, and as long as the battery life is up to snuff, as long as it's good, that's all that really matters. Everything else, I can't wait to see what the games they present to use, drawing the bow back, or if it's going to be a pressure sensitivity with like a motorcycle racing game, or, I mean, there's a million different possibilities you could have with this. It's actually pretty exciting, and looking forward to see what they come out with this. Anyways, I'm going to leave the video right there and get back to my real job. I just saw this come out, and I'm like, I'm going to make a video real quick, let you guys know about it, give you my thoughts on it. I'd be very interested to hear what you guys have to say about the DualSense, the PlayStation 5 controller design that just randomly appeared on this, what is it, April Tuesday? I don't even know. It's crazy. They just dropped it, and here we are. Now we're looking forward to seeing if the PlayStation 5 console design actually looks like that spaceship, or if that was just a dev kit. I'm going to leave the video right there. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.